Hayalperestlerin, risk alanların, denemekten korkmayanların cesaretinden doğduk. Bizi asla yarı yolda bırakmayan o sesin rehberliğiyle ilerlemeye ve öğrenmeye devam ediyoruz. Bunun için varız. Bu yüzden gece geç saatlere kadar lambalarımız sönmez. Elveda demek hem hüzün hem de gurur verir. Her şeyi sorgulayarak ve merakımızı besleyerek, dayanıklılığımızı test ederek, sınırlarımızı aşarak, ilerleyerek ve yeni ufuklar açarak yeni bir yol buluruz. Yeni icatlar çıkararak, kendi yolumuzu çizerek. Burası fikirlerin doğduğu ve yeni fikirleri doğurduğu, bizim de doğduğumuz, birlikte büyüdüğümüz ve yükseldiğimiz yer. Burası Yakın Doğu Üniversitesi.
Dear participants, welcome to the third day, fifth session and the final session of today's presentations on the third international conference on Cyprus issue, environmental challenges and energy security. In this session, we will be hosting Professor Dr. Orhan Gemikonatlı, Professor Dr. Özgür Cemal Özerdem, Professor Dr. Jim Lamarox, Professor Dr. İbrahim Gürer, Professor Dr. Malik Maza, and Mr. Taner Erginel. To make the first presentation, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Orhan Gemikonatlı. Professor, welcome.
Good evening. Let me share my screen. Okay, so the application now come. Let's try again. Share screen.
İnşallah yarabbim. Hocam. Yok bir şey. Diğer videoya geçmem lazım. Onun için bir sürü şey yaptım.
Let's do this one. Share.
Hadi be.
Yes, Professor, we can see your presentation on the screen.
Okay, it's full screen now, so let's take it to the beginning.
Diğer video.
Right, I'm ready. Should I start? Okay, should I start? I guess so.
Ondan özürden yok.
Okay,
Özürden. Problem var.
can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Professor.
So I can start then, yep?
Yes, Professor, we are waiting for you.
Good evening again. I would like to start my presentation. I would like to welcome you all to the presentation at this third international conference on Cyprus issue, environmental challenges and energy security, ECES 2022. The topic is renewable energy and energy security, the case of Northern Cyprus. But as we refer to renewable energy, it will be more of solar energy since it's the main, maybe only renewable energy currently we have access to in Northern Cyprus. I would like to start with Thomas Friedman's quote. The country that owns green, that dominates that industry, is going to have the most energy security, national security, competitive companies, healthy population, and most of all, global respect. So the message I'm trying to give here is that energy security is important to be offered together with a better world, an environmental approach, green energy. It's not just to ensure the sustainability or the provision of energy for daily needs. Now my presentation, renewable energy and energy security, case of Northern Cyprus. I'll give a brief introduction, then a general description of energy security, which may vary from person to person. Then we'll try to be more specific to Northern Cyprus or TRNC. Of course, there are certain steps taken already. I would like to explain as much as I'm aware of and propose things that can be done, and then conclude my presentation. It's important to emphasize that energy security is national security. That's what Yang Kim said. And I can't agree more. Because if you use energy, you have no other security left. No economical security, no social security, no national security, nothing at all. We see a growing energy problem in our world, which is threatening the world. This is firstly due to increasing demand. Economies are growing. The population is growing as well. Urbanization is taking over. All this need more energy. And as the demand increases, we know that conventional energy sources are being depleted as well. Coal, oil, gas, so on. And on top of all, of course, we had this COVID-19 pandemic, which has not proven anything good for our world, including energy crisis and the ongoing Russian-Ukraine war, which further fueled the energy problem, especially for Europe. So the growing energy problem is, of course, some key drivers of the future of energy. As I said, the increasing demand for energy is due to growing population, urbanization, economic growth. And interestingly, the demand growth in developing countries is outperforming the rest of the world. Now it's more challenging than ever to meet the demand because of the depleting resources and the green agenda we have today. So we have to consider environmental impacts in addition to what we offer to the energy problem. And of course, we have to discuss energy security, the technologies and policies that will enable energy security. We know that the global energy demand is increasing in all sectors. It's not in just one field or another one. Wood, coal have been in use for many thousands of years, but in recent years, in the recent decade, we should say, the energy supply transformed from first wood to coal because coal is more efficient, coal to oil and gas, and of course, eventually incorporated hydroelectric and nuclear energy too. Nowadays, we see the increasing role of renewable sources, all sorts of it, biomass, solar, wind, waves, etc. However, although there's a transformation from old means, old resources to new ones, still all the new sources have seen and are projected to see some growth. So it is estimated that 2000 to 2030, the growth of use of different sources will be something like 0.7% and 6.5% with biomass, 1.3% waste, and other renewables such as geothermal, solar, wind, tide, wave energies will see a 6.5% growth. Although we are talking about renewable energies, we know that the world is still rich in hydrocarbon resources. The potential is still there, still in use, and still there is a growth. However, it's not an easy area to get into. Environmental impact of such sources, the fossil sources, is blamed for the carbon dioxide increased levels, local pollution, climate change. So we need some precautionary action that people demand rightfully. So we are talking about the threat of climate change, but energy security is something that we have to consider as well. The buildings on Earth represent some 40-50% of final energy consumption. This is worldwide. What is the situation in Cyprus? When we look at the construction industry, it hasn't yet evolved to look at the requirements of local climate, then promote use of local material and end up in more livable dwellings. There's technology to reduce energy demand, maybe by at least 50%. However, the difficult thing is to change the culture, the consumer behavior, the policy, and the business models, which are well established. So we threw in some simple statistics in this introduction. Statistics are important, as we'll see later in this presentation. As Charles Babbage said, errors using inadequate data are much less than those using no data at all. There's a reason I'm emphasizing this. We'll come back to this in coming slides. And again, why should data be inadequate if you work with competent professionals? Again, quoting from Hal Varian, chief economist of Google, the ability to take data, to be able to understand it, to process it, to extract value from it, to visualize it, to communicate it, is going to be a hugely important skill in the next decades. I don't know when he exactly said this, but it's not really next decades. It's already there. It's already hugely important. So we can say that energy security starts with keeping accurate data. I'm emphasizing this because it's applicable to the case of Northern Cyprus. So how do we define energy security? There are various definitions. Well, we can say that human's well-being and comfort rely on the presence of energy more than ever. So definitions such as the uninterrupted process of securing the amount of energy that is needed to sustain people's lives and daily activities while ensuring its affordability. That's energy security. Of course, the location, access to natural resources, economic status, energy dependency, politics, international relations will all affect the definition of energy security. It would mean something else for each locality, for each country, for each community. So we can't say definitely there's a definition for security, but a general one. There are several taxonomies used for energy security. So if you look at the one that suggests the 4 A's for energy security, it's availability, accessibility, acceptability, and affordability. The first one, availability, refers to the physical availability of resources that we don't have in Cyprus, apart from solar energy sources. Accessibility, that refers to geopolitical aspects associated with accessing resources. Acceptability is social and often environmental stewardship aspects of energy, and affordability refers to economic cost of energy. For example, if you look at hydraulic fracturing or fracking, well, it's only affordable if energy sells at more than $70 a barrel. Energy security. We know the supply of energy is not even across the world. There are physical factors, costs, technology, political factors for this. So as we said, physical factors about availability. Cost, as the fossil sources are depleted, the cost of extraction increases. It will be more difficult, more expensive. Technology is promising. Yes, if you use it carelessly, it may lead to environmental hazards. It can also give rise to exploitation of new energy sources, especially renewable ones. And political factors are so important, they can either improve energy security or destroy it. So international conflicts, internal affairs, including mismanagement, may give rise to threats to energy security, and we witness this every day. Again, import dependency that our land, Northern Cyprus, has, unfortunately, is another threat to energy security. So investing in renewable energy can relieve such countries a bit. Developments in renewable technologies are encouraging, so why not use it? But how use it? That's the question. So if such technologies are widespread deployed, which seems to be happening, that this will have a geopolitical and a long-term effect on geopolitical dynamics. We can look at the Iceland. They are 100% energy secure because they use abundant thermal energy resources. So they thrive on renewable energy, having no import dependence. So much that industrialists move to Iceland. I know a friend of mine, a businessman, moved his server farms to Iceland because energy is cheap. So it's not only energy secure, that security brings in better economics as well. However, when you have only solar energy as the main renewable, then it comes with its pitfalls. Especially if you have lack of initiative or mismanagement of the use of solar energy that may threaten energy security. So let's be more specific to Northern Cyprus, or TRNC. It's a small land, 3,354 kilometers square. It has a production power of just over 400 megawatt, and that's what the grid, the electricity network can support anyway. No fossil energy resources. Yes, there's a lot going in the Mediterranean Sea. Talk about gas, etc., which is not ours yet. So the country depends on imports to produce energy. Furthermore, the political isolation the country has is another major threat to energy security. Renewable energy, yes, it does exist in the form of solar energy, and it's plentiful if you can use it. In 2011, a new law was passed from the parliament, and in the past 8 years, I believe from 2014, there's been a significant increase in investment in solar energy. This is promising, this is positive. But of course, when implemented under reliable policies. On the other hand, when we consider that even solar energy has dependence on imports of solar technologies, and we have lack of storage capacity, well, we have lack of expertise, and unfortunately, lack of sought policies. Then it's easy to pull energy security into turmoil. So, in the beginning, I said energy security starts with keeping accurate data. How are we doing with accurate data in Northern Cyprus? Here, it's difficult to obtain accurate data. And of course, this inhibits any meaningful planning. Think of yourself as being on a committee to make a decision on next year's quota, and the first thing you ask is data. And neither the Ministry of Energy nor KIPTEC have data you need. Then come and plan the future. However, in light of what data is available, what we can dig out, what we can find, it seems that solar energy production power has approached 100 megawatt. I think it's about 97, with more than 20% share, potentially reaching the share of renewable energy percentages in Europe, not just solar, renewable energy. Licenses have been granted for at least another 50 megawatt. This can be more, and applications for solar energy investment are still being considered. Tens of megawatts of investment for self-consumption expect to take advantage of offsetting, what we call maksutlaşma. These are alarming. What happens is people invest into solar energy, and daytime, summertime, they use the existing electricity grid as a storage. And then at night and in winter, they use electricity from storage. Supply when you have plenty, use it free when you don't have any. And of course, people have peace of mind of having generated excess energy during the day or during summertime, and then they can spend carelessly at night, they can spend carelessly during winter. But what happens to authorities, electricity authorities? What does Kıptek think about this? They get under extreme pressure to supply more energy at night, to supply more energy in winter. Households with single-phase supply are now authorized to install up to 5 kilowatt solar technology. Well, if it is three-phase supply at your dwelling, this raises to 8 kilowatt. Now, these are subject to the usage analysis. That's how this story all started for larger wattages, but then they forgot about usage analysis. Now they have to come back to it, and they are doing so. Now I want to compare this to the UK case where I lived and I had a solar system installed on my rooftop. Their solar energy panels produce approximately 50% less than electricity than the same technology used in Cyprus. A maximum of 4 kilowatts is allowed per household. If you invest into anything more than this, it's deemed commercial and you are expected to pay taxes. Of course, they encourage investment by paying money for production plus buying the energy not used. Well, 4 kilowatt to 5 and 8 kilowatt in Cyprus, where production is doubled compared to the UK case, and no taxing, and in most cases free use of the grid as storage. That's alarming. So the policy we know as mahsuplaşma, offsetting, that's killing the whole idea. Because I said, produce daytime, produce summertime, and then use it in the evenings and wintertime free of charge. Okay, there may be some deduction if the production facility is not where the producer lives, but I believe that if you produce at your own dwelling where you live, you don't even pay that. And that amount paid is little. So people are encouraged to produce more and push more into the grid to use later. And unfortunately, because of the lack of control, and that's due to lack of smart meters that should have been installed in the beginning, some producers with installers' help, of course, arbitrarily raise output voltage levels of their system. So they gain unfair advantage. But this causes concern because we see fluctuations in local electricity that damages devices at certain houses. It's not new that experts have been raising concerns. Mr. Çelik, for example, the chair of the Chamber of Electrical Engineers, in an interview he gave to a newspaper, I think in 2019, he did say that the grid is small and unconnected with the outside world. Now it is connected with the south, I hope permanently. The grid already has 400 megawatt of generators installed, still the case more or less. 48 megawatt solar energy installed, now it reached 97 megawatt. 116 megawatt license in total. Now the data I could read suggests that 150 to 200 megawatt license now. 15 kilowatt for three-phase dwellings, now reduced to 8. 7 kilowatt for one-phase dwellings, now reduced to 5. Licensing limits have been exceeded. I question this. They couldn't tell me what the limits are. Somebody said there were discussions on 30% being solar energy, which is too much, but nothing in writing. Up to 200 kilowatt permits for low voltage systems. And what have we seen in 2019 compared to previous year? Summer electricity demand from authorities dropped by 17, not 17, so it dropped in summer, but surged by 17% in air during the winter. This is because in summer there was excess production. People used their own produce and they stored it on the grids, and in the winter they demanded it back. That's alarming. The grid capacity cannot take on more, so need investment is essential. But the policy is not a working policy either. Now we have this Eurasia interconnector that's connecting Israel to Cyprus, already started, and from Cyprus supposed to go to Crete, Greece, and eventually to the EU, if they can overcome political problems. What impact will this have on northern Cyprus? Well, this depends on EU and Israeli policies, of course. We are vulnerable. If they do say you are out, you are not connected with this anymore, because being connected with the south means automatically being connected to this system, then we are out. No securities. Then there's a possibility of interconnection with the huge grid of Turkey. That's great. It's the third largest producer of Europe, and that will be a huge help for northern Cyprus. However, the Turkish electricity market is now a part of the international electricity market of the EU, so there are political concerns again. We know that the commercial exchange between the rehabilitation of the frequency control performance of the Turkish power system for synchronous operation with the European network of transmission system operators of electricity, in short ENÇESU, and Turkey is ongoing with great success. So we also know that officials say officially that an integration between Turkish electricity markets and northern Cyprus will not be welcomed by the EU, and they official meetings, the European rulers opposed to this and threatening to expel Turkey from the European interconnection. In such a case, well, would Turkey compromise this commercial exchange with the EU for the sake of the electric security of North Cyprus? Whether they can expel Turkey or another story, because the officials, when they speak unofficially, they say it's the third biggest producer in Europe, and it's not that easy to expel Turkey. But still, there's a threat. What is this International Renewable Energy Agency, IRENA? Director General at NANZ, some quotes. The White House needs to prepare proactively for the new energy age and its geopolitical consequences, as well as the crucial need to encourage innovation, align socio-economic structures and investment with the energy transition, strengthen international cooperation, and plan energy systems that are just and inclusive. Well, this can only be achieved through good leadership and strong political will, and can ensure that a more prosperous future and globally can promote sustainable economic growth, improve livelihoods, and foster social cohesion and stability. Can we get this? Can we hope this? Can we expect this? Do we have the strong political will to offer us this energy security? I asked an official what the government's policy is on energy security before I started preparing this talk. And what do you think he said? He said, energy security? No policy. So, the outlook is not pleasant at all. If you have no policy, then not much to say. Firstly, the non-existence of underground resources, as physical factors and costs we talked about, dependence on outsiders, they have to import fuel, so there's import dependence. Being a small state on a small island with no political recognition from the world, then we cannot handle our own international affairs to ensure good relations with the world, to improve energy security. Yes, we do have a renewable energy source that lasts forever. The solar energy is natural to the island, it's plenty, and the advancements in the relevant technologies are promising. We still have technology dependence in implementing such systems. That's an obstacle in front of energy security. Of course, this dependence also leads to unfavorable costs in technology, in investment, in bits and pieces, in material. That's another concern for energy security. And the incompetence in internal politics to manage sustainable supply of energy, incorporating renewables, in our case mainly solar energy, worsens the problem. And all others that said for energy security in general are applicable to Northern Cyprus as well. So the interconnection of the electricity grids of two countries needs to observe some rules. First of all, the minimum capacity should be 15% of the production power. This is the first rule to be remembered. No producer, whether from another country or from within the country itself, can supply more than 20%, that's an EU rule, 20% of the energy market in any country. That limits the energy transfer between countries too. Second rule won't impact us more because we are not a big producer. A third rule to be observed is the EU's target to provide 32% of the energy market with renewable energy. In fact, it's at least 32%. And there are proposals to increase this, and I think that's by 2030. Well, when we look at energy security of Northern Cyprus, we have to consider these rules as well. Of course, there are steps taken, some positive, and there are a lot of things that can be done. Well, if we talk in general, some measures are proposed for energy security, such as risk management, diversification of sources, policies, and laws. So it's important to adopt these brain measures and introduce more measures as necessary that are focusing on our country. After all, we know that not only definition of energy security varies from country to country, place to place, but also threats may vary too. Firstly, if you have an honorable political resolution to the Cyprus problem, that will bring some relief on this matter, as well as many other socio-economical and political problems. Well, this may also help to bring some stability to the Middle East, because Middle East is a significant source of world's energy and has an impact on energy security. Secondly, improving relations with the South. Nowadays that we are interconnected on electricity network, it's helping both sides, but still vulnerable because of lack of a political resolution. Currently, we know the political climate is somehow disturbing, but the interconnection vertical grids of North and South has proven to play a key role in energy security for both sides, something that both sides enjoy despite their differences. We did say Eurasia electricity interconnect is in progress, Israel to Cyprus, and to continue beyond. That's the plan. That's why EU is paying millions to this project. So there are two scenarios, the worst and the best scenario. The worst one says that the completion of the interconnection of Israel to EU through Cyprus and Greece may end the energy cooperation of the north and south of the island, or at least relieve the Greek Cypriots, they won't depend on us at all, to relieve their hands to be more in control of this cooperation, which may be a higher risk for the energy security of the North. The best scenario is that Northern Cyprus will be interconnected to Israel and eventually the EU. That will bring some relief, provided that this connectivity is politically and legally secure. If we fail to achieve this, Northern Cyprus can still contribute to its energy security through the
Professor
Northern Cyprus.
Gemikonatlı,
Yes.
I apologize for intrusion,
Yes.
but we have time constraint. Can you sum it up, please?
Okay. Connection with Turkey will be a solution. Okay. Introduction of smart meters already started. That's a good thing. Will give some control on what they give to the grid. So fluctuations may not be a problem anymore if we do get that. Finally, to secure our electricity, we need more data, data, data. As Arthur Conan Doyle says, I can't make bricks without clays. So, some of them. We know energy security is a worldwide problem. Many reasons. That there's an increase in the demand of electricity, the dirty international politics, the warmongering further worsens the problem. Northern Cyprus is no exception. It's vulnerable because of its status and location. It's dependent. We have lack of resources, lack of means of production. International affairs is not in our hands. There are problems at the national level. All this worsens the situation, and a lot more. And of course, the lack of political ability to act on energy security threatens national security as well. So, some recommendations. The government's duty is to produce an energy policy, including renewables. There's something in place. They say they'll finalize by January. Hopefully, something good comes out. Implementation of the policy should be politically clean, so it should be in the hands of professionals, not politicians. For that, we need an independent body of experts to have authority to monitor, veto decisions. Investment into the network, this network must be promoted. Renewable energy policy, especially solar energy policy, must follow international EU standards. Accurate data must be kept and used. Scientific thinking must lead and not politics. Last but not least, CYPTEC must be reformed together with legal position. Smart metering, already CYPTEC started installing for monitoring or penalties for playing the system, etc. Should be there, started positive. And we to regulate the construction and transport industries to promote energy efficiency and green energy. Finally, revise the policy known as Mahsuplaşma because it's not working for Northern Cyprus. That ends my presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Orhan Gemikonatlı. I apologize for the intrusion.
That's okay.
Okay, thank you very much for your valuable contributions. As our next speaker, I would like to invite Professor Dr. İbrahim Gürer to make his presentation. Professor Gürer?
Yes, please. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly, Professor.
All right.
Vereceğim.
And if you can put your slides on the screen.
I think now it is full screen. May I start?
Yes, you may begin, Professor Gürer. We can see your screen and we can hear you perfectly.
All right. My name is İbrahim Gürer, and good evening to all colleagues. Tonight I would like to speak about the effect of climate change on water resources of Turkey, also hydraulic energy system of Turkey. And by definition, the climate change is the variation of Earth global climate. And also it may be, in some studies, regional climates change over time. And the change in the variability of the climate and also average state of the weather conditions during the last million years, etc. So it is not very clear for the human beings because the human life is, let's say, 100, 120, but this climate change may take millions of years so we can realize it. During the last 200 years, this change started to be somehow too rapidly. and especially in the water resources of Turkey, we realize that many sources have been affected. For example, surface area of the surface waters like lakes, reservoirs, and swamps and reeds, they are decreasing continuously. Well, when we speak about global warming, usually what we understand is surface temperature increase. But climate change, yes, of course, global warming is part of it, but everything else is now somehow increasing greenhouse gas levels will affect. Probably former presentations explained about the water resources of Turkey, but and I don't want to give too many figures because nobody will remember them. But what I can say is that till 2010 we have been using 643 millimeter precipitation as the annual average. But now, starting from 2010, State Meteorological Organization recomputed this value, and now average precipitation in Turkey is about 574 millimeter. That means we have decreased down about 65 millimeter. And actually this corresponds to 450 billion meter cube. And in some sources it is 593 millimeter, so it is in between. But what we can say is that gross surface potential of the country is 185 million. And what we can consume, the amount of consumable water is 94, and also 18 billion from groundwater. So altogether it is 112 billion meter cube per year. And we use at the moment 54 billion of this. And then 40 billion is used for irrigation. As you see, this is about 70%. 7 billion for drinking use and 7 million for the industry. Land, in case of land and soil resources, 75 million hectares, the area, and 25 million is agricultural land, and these are data from the ministries. And now when you look at the slide, on the left-hand side, we see the drainage basins. On the right-hand side, we see the topographical appearance of the country on the map. Now, amount of water that we can irrigate with the existing potential is actually 7.5 million hectares. By the end of 2022, of course, 716 million hectares is irrigable, and 4.33 million hectares modern irrigation network of the DSI does the job. Population is 86.5 million, but I think that it is 86.5 million plus, because we have so many immigrants from different parts of the world that 86.5 million may not be exact figure. As I said, there are 25 river basins, and actually they were 26 basins, but Tigris and Euphrates has been combined in Euphrates-Tigris system. Therefore, we have now 25 basins. Actually, some of them are internal. That means starting from Turkey and going to this water is discharged into the sea in Turkey. But there are transboundary rivers like Çoruh, Aras, Euphrates, Tigris, and they start from Turkey, but they flow out through the country borders, and we call them transboundary rivers. When we speak about transboundary rivers, of course, the rules change and they are international rivers. Well, when we look at a river, actually the regime of the rivers, amount of water, amount of sediment they carry, and erosive characters may vary through the years because precipitation is changing in the region. And the seasons are shifting to summertime or wintertime. And also river cross-section or along longitudinal cross-section of the river may change. When there is a high slopes of the rivers, and we know that then they have hydroelectric energy potential. And rivers in Anatolia are not suitable for water transportation or river transportation because of the high slopes and the riverbed morphology. When we speak about those 25 basins, as you see what we deal with, here in this list you can find the name and drainage area, annual precipitation, and the flow computed from the annual precipitation by runoff coefficient, and then discharge in meter cube per second, or how do we say this, special discharge expressed in liter per second per kilometer. And then if there is any dam on the river, and then how much water they impound, and about the soil, the surface area of the land, and how much is irrigable. Actually, these are the most important parameters when we approach to understand the drainage area of a river. When we look at the hydrometeorology of the country, 574 millimeters, and then highest rainfall in the eastern Black Sea, and here it is in this part, I don't know if you can see it, and also in central Anatolia, least rainfall. And there is no snow on the Mediterranean Sea coast. And in central and the eastern part of Turkey, we have snowfall as well. If you look at the water resources potential, here are the figures. I'm not going to repeat them because then either they have been already told you in the former presentations, or they will be in my presentation and you can look at them later. Total water used is 57 billion meter cube. If you look at the energy resources, well, actually, in Turkey, on average, 3,300 kilowatt hour energy is used per capita, per person, or for person. And this is, of course, below the European countries' consumption average. And since industrialization is our target for the economic and social development, we try to pay greatest importance to meet the energy needs of the industry sector first, and then, of course, for the people, time and reliable manner to provide it. In Turkey, the gross theoretical energy potential is 433 billion kilowatt hour per year. And economically developed potential is 158 million kilowatt hour per year. And technically accessible hydroelectric potential actually is only 2% of the world, 18% of the European potential. In America, they already developed 86% of their technical hydraulic potential. In Japan, 78, in Norway, 72, in Canada, 56, and in Turkey, 45%. Therefore, we try to develop first our large-scale projects and then small-scale projects as the second stage. Now, I go a little bit back, 2001 IPCC report. Now, the basic elements of the human life, like right to live, suitable living conditions, clean water and health, physical and natural environment, ecology and coastal area, livelihood, food security and agricultural, technical and industrial security. And climate change was the most serious environmental problem in that report. But now in 2022, we realize that still we struggle. Not much changed for Turkey. Now I will give you what happened, what are the effects of climate change, and when I speak about them, if they are likely, then more than 66% is the probability of occurrence. Very likely, more than 90% probability of occurrence. So these are the basic criteria and the information obtained from this reference. Water. Increase in the water temperature and evaporation due to climate change, of course, drought will come. And then risk of hunger in Turkish or in Middle East countries, in Turkey or in Middle East countries, except the rich Arabic countries. In December 2022, it is not risk, but a reality in Turkey, because some parts also in Middle East, those in the war countries, north of Black Sea region, well, we have to think about the reality of hunger, or hunger is the reality of life. If you look at the water supply, very likely to increase higher altitudes at the higher elevations and in some wet tropics, including populous areas in the East and Southeast Asia. Again, very likely to decrease over the water stress areas in Turkey, southeastern Anatolia, and much of the mid latitudes and dry tropics. And drought-affected areas will likely increase in Sahara and Africa. Instances of extreme rainfall are likely to increase in frequency and intensity, like in northern Black Sea and southeastern Anatolia regions of Turkey. And we have realized that in 2022, there is an increase in the frequency and severity of floods as well as droughts. But droughts are long-term effect, but in floods, they are like torrential flow and very effective at certain locations. Of course, volume stored in glaciers and snow cover are very likely to decline. And if you watch the films related, or let's say, documentary films about the glaciers in the northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere, we realize that they are decreasing. And also seasonal flows are reduced or decreasing and continue to decrease. I think that till 2050, and more likely, much more likely till 2080, and in 2100, it will be the probably worst case according to IPCC climate scenarios. Ecosystems, well, many ecosystems are likely to be challenged beyond their capacity to adapt over the course of the century by combination of climate change, as increase of forest fires in Turkey and drought in central and southeastern Anatolia. Another point, roughly 20 to 30% of the plant species are likely to be lost, extinct, and irreversible extinction we are going to face. As or if the global average of temperature rises by 1.5 to 2.5 degrees Celsius. Beyond we will go back beyond the levels of 2000. Food. Well, when we speak about hunger, of course, food crop yields are likely to increase at higher latitudes. Why? Because there better temperature conditions will exist. But if you go down, then 1 to 3 degrees Celsius, according to type of the crop, then if there will be a global average, then the rest at lower latitudes, then we will realize that crop yield potentially is likely to decrease. Even for small regional temperature increase, these parts may risk the hunger. In this slide, I try to show you what happens in the agricultural areas or agricultural plots. Local agricultural productions is started to be decreased and increased negatively due to climate change, especially in rural areas, and farmers' income, they drop. And we realize that at this moment in Turkey, there are some other parameters like petroleum prices and then fertilizer prices and then all inputs to the agriculture increase because of the high inflation rates, and then it will be very difficult to recover. That is my personal thought. In coastal areas, oceans continue to warm in 2020 and into 21, and in 2020, mean sea levels continues to rise. And also we realize that groundwater conditions is also going to be very much affected. People living in low-lying coastal strips like Bangladesh, Pakistan, India, it seems that toward the when we approach to 2080, they will be much more in trouble. Health, climate change is likely to be affected millions of lives. Low capacity to adapt. People have low capacity because their low income prevents their normal, or healthy eating. And during the COVID-19 pandemic, we have realized that this is true. And we will have implications for young generation development, increased death, disease, and injury due to heat waves, floods, storms, forest fires, droughts, water-related disease, cardiorespiratory disease, and infectious disease. Industry, settlements, and society will be affected by climate change. And this will be in a wide range and in many locations. And temperate parts of northwestern industrial region of Turkey, that means Iznik and near to Istanbul, where we have the industrial region of Turkey, then water scarcity and energy demand will rise. And here there is an internal migration, very clear. The most vulnerable industries, settlements, societies, sit on the or near to coastal areas and river floodplains. And those river estuaries and deltas on Mediterranean coast is strongly affected, and there is saltwater intrusion problem. And we have to admit that poor communities are to be more vulnerable to the climate change effects on air living. According to fourth assessment report, here is the temperature anomaly. As you see, starting from 1880 to 2000, unfortunately, there is a big increase, both on annual means and five-year means. And also global mean sea level, as you see. And till the year 2003, 2001 millimeter per year mean sea level rise. And starting from 2003 to 2013, 2.9 millimeter rise. And after 2013, up to next year, 4.4 millimeter per year. And average trend is 3.4, plus minus 0.3 millimeter per year. And satellite altimetry or satellite observation or data from space shows that mean sea level is rising. So, what about the consequences? In Turkey, lakes shrink, water level in reservoirs drop.
Professor Gürer,
Yes, I
apologize for
finished.
the intrusion, but can you sum it up, please?
Okay, I will just finish. Plans to dry up swamps and ecology, they all goes negative. These are the informations from 1995 to 2003. Now, during this decade, carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide, they increase the climate effect on the Earth. And then from January, September 2002, and there is 1.15 plus minus 0.3 warmer or increase. El Nino conditions low for the second year, but still fifth and sixth warmer year. So, important sentence, the last 6 years are likely to be the 8th warmest year on our records. And I already mentioned about the Arctic case. In 2022, 1.5 million people already affected from the droughts. Between 98 2007, economic loss is huge. Global greenhouse emissions increased and continue to increase even in 2022. And also climate change due to human activities started to affect the daily lives of people. It seems that negative reflection on energy sector, but we have to produce energy from renewable sources, from hydropower, from wind, and from sun. And also we have to put so many run-off river types in Turkey as much as possible. And a bad example, but Karkamış Dam produced 53% less energy this year. And on decrease in production due to the less water inflow, and then price increase accordingly. Drought lower water levels, reduce the output of hydropower turbine, and then hydropower plants directly use water. So insufficient water levels, less production, so more expensive energy. Solution: renewable energy investment should be increased. And then it seems that the solution is increasing the share of the renewable energy sources in Turkish conditions, especially in electric production, and clever use of energy, and decreasing the emission rates will be probably the best solution approach to or minimize the negative effects of climate change in Turkey. Thank you for your patience. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. İbrahim Gürer. I apologize for the intrusion, but due to time constraints and we are going to the closing session, that's why I had to interrupt. But thank you very much for making your presentation, even though you're not feeling very well.
Thank you very much.
Okay. And as our next guest, I would like to invite Mr. Taner Erginel to make his presentation, to make his speech. Sayın Başkanım. Sayın Başkanım, beklettiğimiz için kusura bakmayınız.
Dinlemiş oldum. Ben bir şeyler öğrendim. Teşekkür ederim. Şimdi ben hukukla ilgili ve deniz hukukuyla ilgili bir şeyler söylemek istiyorum. Ben emekli Yüksek Mahkeme Başkanıyım ve hukukçu olarak bu açıdan olaylara baktığım için ve bir de tarafsız ve objektif olarak olaylara baktığım için oldukça ilginç şeyler söyleyebileceğimi düşünüyorum. Konuşmamı Türkçe hazırlamamı söylediler. İsteyen arkadaşlar daha sonra sanırım bunlar yayınlanırsa onlar orada okuyabilir. Şimdi şöyle benim sunumum. Ana vatanımız Türkiye ve biz Kuzey Kıbrıs Türk Cumhuriyeti halkı Doğu Akdeniz'de deniz hukukundan doğan haklarımızı yitirme tehlikesiyle karşı karşıyayız. Bu konuda haklı olduğumuzu anlatıyor ve gerekirse güç kullanarak bu hakkı elde edeceğimizi söylüyoruz. Şu kuşku yok ki söylediklerimiz doğrudur. Ancak bir hukukçu olarak bizim sormamız gereken soru, bir savaşa girmeden haklarımızı elde etmenin mümkün olup olmadığıdır. Haklarımızı hukuk yoluyla elde etme yönünde bir hata yapıp yapmadığımızı araştırmamız lazım. Biz deniz hukukunda, Doğu Akdeniz'deki deniz hakları hukukunda ve ana vatanımız Türkiye, Ege'deki haklar konusunda dünya kamuoyunun karşısında bulmuş durumdadır. Bu duruma düşmemek için ne yapmalıydık? Bu duruma düşmemek için bize yol gösterici birisi var. O da Atatürk. Atatürk yaşasaydı ve bizim yerimizde olsaydı bu konularda ne yapardı? Bu soruyu sormamız lazım. Atatürk hayatta olsaydı öncelikle denizlerin gittikçe önem kazanacağını herkesten önce görecekti. Ne oldu deniz? Eskiden devletlerin egemenliği kara sınırlarıyla sınırlanmış durumdaydı. Ve böyle sahile çok yakın yüzülebilecek kadar yerler ve o devletin egemenliğinde kabul ediliyordu. Bir örf gibi. Ancak zaman içinde devletlerin iştahı açıldı ve 20. yüzyılda gittikçe daha fazla denizlerden bir parçayı kendi egemenlik sahalarının içine almaya başladılar. Nasıl yaptılar bunu? İlkin sahile kadar egemenliği olan bir devlet bir müddet sonra şöyle düşündü. Yahu biz sahilin yakınında olan belli bir bölgeyi de kendi kontrolümüzde tutuyoruz zaten. Orası da bizim olsun. Ve dediler ki kara suları denir oraya ve o kara suları da bizim egemenliğimiz içinde olacak. Bizim sınırlarımızın içine girmiş olacak. Orada her şey bize ait olacak. Tamam, nasıl, ne kadar olsun bu? Bu su, kara suları önce dediler ki ya bir top atsak sahilden nereye kadar gider? 3 deniz mili en fazla. Demek ki kara suları da 3 deniz mili olsun dediler ve bu konuda uluslararası alanda bir ittifak oluştu. Demek ki 3 mil bir uluslararası hukuk kuralı haline geldi. Fakat bir müddet sonra bazıları ya niye 3 olsun? Varsın 6 olsun. Bizim yerimiz daha da çoğalsın dedi. Ve böylece 6'ya doğru çıkan bir eğilim oluştu. Bir müddet sonra bazı devletler hayır 6 da yetmez 12 olsun demeye başladılar ve orada dananın kuyruğu koptu dediğimiz orada karşı çıkanlar oldu. Çünkü baktılar ki devletlerden biri alırsa 12 mili kendisine hiçbir şey kalmayacak. Ve işte biliyorsunuz Yunanistan'la Türkiye arasındaki ihtilafların biri budur. Ve Yunanistan uğraşıyor 12'ye çıkarsın ama kolay kolay çıkaramayacak. Çıkarabilmesi için aynı amaçla büyük devletlerin 3'ünün de hareket etmesi lazım ki etmiyorlar. Yani kısaca ortada kalan bir konum. Şimdi bir müddet sonra bazı devletler dediler yahu bırakalım karasularını. Bir de kıta sahanlığı var. Yani denizin altında olan toprak var. Ve o toprağın içinde de petrol var. Ve kıta sahanlığı aslında diyorlar bizim bölgemizdir orası. Suyla örtülmüştür. Su olmasa bizim yerimiz olacak. Onun için diyor kıta sahanlığı dedilen bir kavram daha ortaya çıktı ve kıta sahanlığı ne kadar derine kadar kıta sahanlığı olur o konu tartışılmaya başlandı. Fakat o da bir müddet sonra fazla bir hemfikir olanlar bir hukuk kuralı haline getiremediler ve Batı Birleşmiş Milletler bir türlü devletler anlaşamıyor. Ne kara sularında ne kıta sahanlığında ve onun için uluslararası bir konferans oluşturuyor. Bu uluslararası konferans çok ciddi tartışmalar içinde bütün devletlerin katıldığı bir konferans ve sonunda bir anlaşma ortaya çıkarıyorlar. Tamamen değişik, daha farklı bir kavram ortaya çıkarıyorlar. Çünkü orada büyük devletler çok daha büyük yerleri almaya çalışıyorlar. Onlar doğrudan bütün okyanusları paylaşmaya çalışıyorlar. Ve o zaman yeni bir kavram ortaya çıkıyor. Münhasır ekonomik bölge kavramı. Ne diyorlar o büyük devletler? Bundan sonra herhangi bir devlet, herhangi bir yerde araştırma yapacaksa petrol araştırması, orasını münhasır ekonomik bölge olarak ilan eder. Eğer diğer devletler de buna itiraz etmezse orası kendisine ait olur. Ama nasıl olur? Bir de onu düşünün. Yani hem yer onun olur, hem hava onun olur, hem denizin içindeki balıklar onun olur. Demek ki orası artık kendi devletine ait bir yer olur ve bunu seve seve büyük devletler alkışlayarak kabul ediyorlar. Türkiye bakıyor ki ya bu problemli bir kavram Bu 1982'de olan bu sözleşme ve onu imzalayanlardan birisi olmuyor. Ancak Türkiye'nin çok büyük bir çelişki içine girdiğini görüyoruz. Hem anlaşma olmuyor diyor, ben katılmam diyor, ben münhasır ekonomik bölge ilan da edecek değilim diyor. Hem de kalkıyor Karadeniz'de Rusya'yla münhasır ekonomik bölge ilan ediyor. Yani hem uyguluyor hem uygulamıyor. Her neyse bırakalım Türkiye hukukçuları onu düşünsün. Dünya hukukçuları ne der? Böyle yaptığı için Türkiye'nin hukuki görüşlerini çok fazla dikkate almaz. Ne oluyor burada? Burada Doğu Akdeniz'de bizim Türkiye madem ki böyledir ve madem ki Karadeniz'de de münhasır ekonomik bölgeyi ilan etti, lazımdı burada da Doğu Akdeniz'e de ilan etsin. Ama etmiyor. Ben diyor zaten kabul etmedim bu uluslararası sözleşmeyi diyor. Ama diğer devletler büyük bir uyanıklık içinde hemen Kıbrıs'ın etrafındaki bütün bölgeleri, bütün denize sahip çıkmaya başlıyorlar. Başta da tabii Rum tarafı. Rum tarafı bu devlete, bu denizlere sahip çıkmaya uğraşıyor. Bizim ilan etmemiz lazım KKTC olarak. KKTC tanınma için gerekenleri yapmıyor. Yani ne yapıyor KKTC? Diyor ki ben bağımsız bir devletim. Şimdi her şeyden önce KKTC'nin hukuki statüsünü de bilmemiz lazım. KKTC, Kıbrıs Türk halkı ta 1900'lerden başlayarak diyelim artık, İngilizlerin buraya geldiği zamanlardan başlayarak eşitlik talebinde bulunuyor. Biz diyor eşitlik halktan biriyiz. Rumlar da diyor hayır siz azınlıksınız. Biz çoğunluğuz. Bizim istediğimiz olacak bu Kıbrıs'ta. Biz de Yunanistan'la birleşmek istiyoruz. Yunanistan'a birleşelim. Siz de buna karşı çıkmayın diyor. Hayır diyoruz biz. Hayır öyle değil. Bilmem biliyor musunuz tabii tarihin önemli olaylarından biri de 1907'de ta 7'de Churchill bir diplomat olarak geliyor buraya. Daha başbakan olmadı. Daha bakan olmadı. Bir diplomat olarak geliyor. Dışişleri'nin görevlisi bir diplomat. O zaman Kıbrıs'ta Kavanin Meclisi diye bir meclis var. Yani o meclis yasama meclisidir. Yani bugün yasama organlarının yaptığı, Büyük Millet Meclisi'nin yaptığı işi yapıyor. Aslında yaptığı bir tavsiye ve şeklindedir valiye. Vali de İngiliz bir vali. Bakıyor o Kavanin Meclisi'nin kararlarına çok güzel onu hemen kabul ediyor ve yasa haline getiriyor. Yani Kavanin Meclisi bir yasama meclisidir. Churchill diyor ki bu kadar önemli bir meclis var burada. Tabii herhalde valiyi de gidip ziyaret etti. Ondan sonra gitti Kavanin Meclisi'ne. Daha içeri girer girmez Rum milletvekili, bu 1907'de olan olaydır. Rum milletvekili ayağa kalkar ve der ki sizin der gelmenize memnun olduk ama artık gitmeniz lazım. Biz anavatanımız Yunanistan'la birleşmek istiyoruz. Bize bu Kıbrıs'tan çekilip gidin ve bize anavatanımız Yunanistan'la birleşme fırsatını verin dedikleri bu. Churchill diyor ki yahu güzel bir talepte bulundunuz. Zaten biz bir sürü ülkeyi terk ediyoruz. Hepsi bağımsızlık ilan ediyor. Siz de anavatanınız Yunanistan'la birleşmek istiyorsunuz. Bunda bence bir sakınca yok. Ama acaba Türkler ne diyor? Türk milletvekilleri de orada oturuyorlar. Hemen Türk milletvekili ayağa kalkıp diyor ki hayır biz kesinlikle karşıyız. Eğer çıkacaksanız Türkiye'ye geri verin. Çünkü siz onlardan kiraladınız bu adayı. Şimdi bunun üzerine Churchill özetliyor Kıbrıs sorununu. Diyor ki burada iki halk var. Sorun bu iki halk ayrı ayrı kendi kaderlerini belirleme hakları var mı yok mu? Biz o günden beri devamlı iki ayrı halk var. Eşittir bu iki halk. Rumlar kendi istediklerini isteyebilirler ama biz de kendi istediğimizi isteyeceğiz. Rumlar bize empoze edemezler. Bunun doğal sonucu da Taksim tezi çıkar. Yani diyor ki Doktor Küçük, tabii daha sonra bu işin başına geçer. Der ki Kıbrıs Taksim olmalı. Bizim tarafımız, biz kendi ana vatanımızla birleşelim. Onlar da nereye isterlerse gitsinler. Böyle bir mücadele başlar, ta 1950'lere gelir. Rumlar olduğu yerde durmaz. Durmadan her gün, her sene yeni bir girişimde bulunurlar. Aşırı milliyetçi bir toplum oldukları için ve Yunanistan'la birleşmek için bitmez tükenmez bir kavga içine girerler. Öyle bir tablosu var. Ama burada Doktor Küçük, Denktaş vesaire çok başarılı olurlar. Ne olurlar bu başarı? 1960 Kıbrıs Cumhuriyeti kurulurken burada bir halk ve azınlıklar yok. Rumların istediği yok. İki tane halk var. Ve bu iki halk anlaşarak bu Kıbrıs Cumhuriyeti'ni yönetecek şekilde bir anlaşmaya varılıyor. Şimdi biz bunu yapıyoruz 1960'ta. 1963'te olmaz diyor Rumlar. Onların zaten milli şeyleri, emelleri hiçbir şekilde sona ermez. Onlar diyorlar ki anayasada Türklere hak tanıyan maddeleri iptal edelim. Ve böylece burası üniter bir devlet olsun. Çoğunluk Rum olduğuna göre Rumların idaresine girsin. Rumların kendi geleceklerini belirleme kararlarıyla Türkler uymak zorunda kalsın. Ve bunu teklif ediyor bizim liderlerimize, tabii Doktor Küçük o zaman, Denktaş da onun yanında. Bizimkiler asla böyle bir şey kabul etmez. Çünkü zaten biz eşit olduğumuzu iddia ediyoruz. Onlar da başka bir şey iddia ediyorlar. Onlar da bir azınlık olduğumuzu iddia ediyorlar. Yani ya onların dediği olacak ya bizim dediğimiz olacak. Ve bunun üzerine biliyorsunuz işte o 1963'te Rumlar bakıyorlar ki Türkler razı olmayacak. Bunun üzerine Makaryos Ankara'ya gidiyor. Türkiye hükümetini ikna etmeye çalışıyor ki kabul etsin ve bıraksın burayı Yunanistan'a. Fakat Türkiye hükümetinin tabii böyle teklifi kabul edeceği yok. Orada reddedince geliyorlar burada polisi ve silahlı güçlerini illegal silahlı güçleri bir araya gelerek Türk bölgelerini işgal edip fiilen zorla adayı Rum kontrolünü almak için mücadeleye başlıyorlar. İşte 21 Aralık 1963 olayı budur. Katliam başlıyor Lefkoşa'da. Türkiye ne yapıyor anavatan? Bir noktada o zaman İnönü Cumhurbaşkanı ve İnönü özür dilerim belki de başbakandı ama esas karar verme yetkisi ondaydı. Şimdi İnönü sabırlı bir adam. Bekler. En sonunda Lefkoşa'yı kuşatırlar. Bir Lefkoşa mahalleleri Rumların fiilen eline düşer. Onun üzerine İnönü uçakları gönderir. Onlar çok alçaktan büyük sesler çıkararak Lefkoşa'nın üzerinde durup bir şaşkınlık gelir Rum saldırı güçlerine. Ama İnönü bir süre sonra toparlanıp tekrar saldıracaklarını tahmin eder ve çok önemli bir karar daha verir. O da nedir? Kıbrıs'ta 1960'da bir Türk alayı gelmişti ve Alayköy'de konuşlanmıştı. Anlaşmalarla belirlenmişti yeri. O alaya yerinizi değiştirin. Anlaşmaya aykırı bile olsa ben artık anlaşmayı da dikkate alamam. Bu koşullarda yerinizi değiştirin ve gidip Gönyeli'ye konuşlanın talimatını verir. Şimdi o zaman Rum silahlı güçlerin başında Makaryos var. Makaryos bakar ki bir adım daha giderlerse, yani Lefkoşa'yı tamamen alırlarsa, bu defa Gönyeli'ye gidecekler ve Türkiye ile savaşmak zorunda kalacaklar. Yani Türkiye ister istemez savaşın içine girecek. O zaman diyor ki durdurun, durdurun ve durduruyorlar savaşı. Ve Türk bölgesinde, Lefkoşa'nın Türk bölgesinde ayrı bir Türk yönetimi oluşuyor. Fakat bazı köylere de saldırıyorlar ve bir bütün Türklerin bütün ellerinde olan, egemenliklerinde olan, kontrollerinde olan yerleri ele geçirmeye çalışıyorlar. Bu yerlerden biri de Erenköy. Erenköy nasıl bir yer? Erenköy kuzey sahilinde bir yer ve yalnız Erenköy sahilde bir yer ama onun etrafında 4-5-6 tane daha köy var. Onlar hepsi Türk köyleri ve birbirine bağlı olarak, özgür olarak ayrı bir kanton oluşturmuşlar. Yani Rumlar orayı ele geçiremiyor. 1964'te bu defa Makaryos toparlanıyor tekrar. O Lefkoşa'daki şaşkınlığı yaşadıktan sonra Yunanistan'dan yeni asker talep ediyor. O ordu geliyor. Yunan ordusu ile Makaryos güçleri birlikte Erenköy'ü denize dökmek için harekete geçiyorlar. Temizleyin Türkleri buradan diyor Makaryos emir veriyor orduya. Onlar saldırıyorlar. Bir Türk köylerini ele geçiriyorlar. En son Erenköy'e geliyor sıra. Onları da denize dökmek üzereydiler. Fakat orada köylülerden başka yüksek tahsil gençleri de bulunuyor. Onlar da kısa bir eğitimden sonra gelmişler anavatana Kıbrıs'a yardımcı olabilmek için ve orada savunmaya geçtiler. O köyleri de zaten onlar savunuyorlardı. En sonunda bütün gençliğini Kıbrıs Türklerinin denize dökecek noktaya geldi Rumlar. İşte o zaman gene son dakika İnönü harekete geçiyor. Ve ne yaptı diyor biliyor musunuz? Diyor ki önce gidip gene Lefkoşa'da olduğu gibi ikaz edin Rumları, durdursunlar. Daha fazla saldırmasınlar. Türk uçakları gelir, ikaz eder, çok yüksek ses çıkararak ve alçaktan uçarak Rumları ikaz eder ama Rumların hiç artık duracak halleri yok. Çünkü büyük bir ordu oluşturdular ve bütün Kıbrıs Türk'ünü yok etmek üzere isterler. Ve biliyorlar ki gençliği yok edilen bir toplum bir daha ayak üstünde bu edemez, duramaz. Bunun üzerine İnönü ikinci çok önemli kararını verir. Ve der ki Türk uçaklarına ateş etme yetkisi verilsin. Ve veriliyor. Ve Türk uçakları Rum mevzilerini bombalamaya ve dağıtmaya başlıyor. O zaman bütün Kıbrıs'ın tarihi değişir. Niçin değişir? Rumlar perişan olurlar ve geri çekilmeye başlarlar. O zaman bir fıkra olarak onu da size anlatayım da onu da bitireyim artık bu konuyu. Burada o zaman bizim halkımız Beyrut'ta Türkçe yayın yapan bir Arap radyosunu dinlerlerdi. Şimdi Araplar tabii hem Türkçe konuşuyor hem de buradaki haberleri veriyordu. Hem Türkiye'nin hem de Kıbrıs'ın haberlerini veriyordu. Bu olay olunca yani bombalama başlayınca ateş etme yetkisi Türk uçaklarına verilince ki İnönü verdi o yetkini aynen Rum radyosu Türk uçaklarına savaşa katılma yetkisi verildi. Allem kallem mansura sözünü söyledi. Yani adam Mansura'yı, Erenköy'dür Mansura, alt üst oldu. Artık her şey Kıbrıs alt üst oldu. Kıbrıs'ta Rumlar Kıbrıs'ı ele geçirmek üzereydilerdi. üzereydiler. Artık elde edemeyecekler anlamında allem kallem Mansura sözünü söyledi ve bu bir atasözü haline geldi Kıbrıs'ta. Neyse burada keseyim Kıbrıs tarihi. O günden beri o 74'e kadar bu olay o şekilde devam etti. 64'ten 74'e kadar. Ondan sonra Rumlar her fırsatta tabii Türkleri taciz ettiler. Türkler yerleşim bölgelerinde kaldılar. Enklav dedikleri yerleşim bölgelerinde. Diğer bütün bölgeler Rumların kontrolündeydi ama orada da rahat durmadılar. İlle bütün adayı Yunanistan'a bağlamak istiyorlardı. Bu girişimleri de bir tanesinde o zaman da başka bir çok önemli bir adam Türkiye'nin başbakanı oldu. O da Ecevit. Ve Ecevit zaten bunun bir çaresi olmadığını tekrar tabii bu arada bir de 67 olayları var. Geçitkale olayları var. O Geçitkale olaylarında da Demirel var. Demirel'de bakıyor ki Rumların duracağı yok. Ona göre çıkarma gemilerinin hazırlanması için talimat veriyor. Onun da büyük bir katkısı oluyor. Yani 74'te Ecevit başbakan olduğunda Türkiye'nin buraya çıkarma yapıp Kıbrıs Türklerini koruma imkanı olduğunu görüyor ve bunu o hakkı kullanıyor. Ve bu şekilde Kıbrıs ondan sonra birinci ve ikinci harita kalıyor. Uzun uzun size bunları anlatabilirim. Ama biz tamamen haklıyız. Yani biz var olmak, yaşamak isteyendik. Bunlar da bizim elimizdekini almak istiyorlar. Yani bütün kavga bu. Yani biz eşit olmak istiyorduk. Onlar da hayır eşit değilsiniz diyorlar. Bizim belki bu haklarımızı tam olarak ifade etme şeyimiz yok. Yani niçin bu kadar çok haklı olduğumuzu anlatamıyoruz bütün dünyaya. Ve sanki 74'te Türkiye burayı kuzeyini işgal etmiş. Ecevit haksız bir iş yapmış. Ve biz de hakkımız olmadan ayrı bir devlet kurmaya çalışıyormuşuz gibi bir görüntü ortaya çıkarıyoruz. Demek ki biz tanıtımımızı ve hukuken gerekçelerimizi daha iyi anlatmak zorundayız. Evet, çok teşekkürler.
Sayın Başkanım, konuşmanız için teşekkür ederiz.
Sağ olun. Çok teşekkür ederim. Yani ben deniz hukukunda incelikleri de anlatmak istiyordum ama tabii bir kitabı sığacak kadar çok şeyi söylemek istemem. Yazılı olarak zannederim böylece yayınlayacaksınız. İsteyenler tabii buradan okuyabilirler. Daha çok Kıbrıs'ın tarihçesini başladım anlatmaya. Ben diyorum ki sonuç olarak Kıbrıs Türk KKTC uluslararası tanınma bölümüne girmelidir. Çünkü her devletin hem karasuları var, hem kıta sahanlığı var, hem de münhasır ekonomik bölge atama hakkı var. Bunu yapmıyoruz ve bu bizim bir eksikliğimizdir. Teşekkürler.
Doğru hocam. Katılımınız için ve değerli görüşleriniz için çok teşekkür ederiz. Maalesef süremiz kısıtlı canlı yayında da olduğumuz için. Ama dediğiniz gibi yani kitap olacak bilgiler bunlar. Katılımınız için teşekkür ederiz hocam.
Sağ olun.
Yes, and as our next guest, now I would like to invite Professor Dr. Jim Lamarox to make his presentation. Professor James?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Welcome, Professor.
Thank you. It's nice to be here or be
We
on
are
the air
delighted to have
together.
you.
It's morning here and it's minus 12 degrees Celsius, so I'm sure it's warmer there, but I just wanted to let you know the loyalty and support to give Professor Gokchekis and our colleagues and friends there by being here when it's that cold. Let's see. All right. Today I'm going to talk about groundwater science issues and research trends. And to begin with, we'll look at sustainable water development. And to that end, that's where this all started with Professor Gokchekas. We published a book in 2011 on survival and sustainability and the outlook for the 21st century. So it's been a long road, but hopefully a good one, and there's still more to come. So we'll also be looking at the UN Sustainable Development Goal 6, research trends and selected journals that tie into this, as well as research trends in international societies. Let's see, sorry. As we all know, hydrogeology plays a major role in all aspects of environmental planning, execution, and implementation. And without a safe, sustainable water supply, life cannot exist, and hopes for prosperity are limited. And much of future world demands will be made up of groundwater. The United Nations has identified water resources as a top priority, and attention is particularly drawn to freshwater stress, which relates water withdrawal to the percentage of water available. And based on the current rate of usage, the United Nations is not optimistic about the global water outlook. Here we see a graphic showing freshwater stress through 2025, so you can see the concern in that regard. And to address this issue, mankind needs to embrace sustainable water development, which is the development of water in a manner in which an adequate supply of good quality water is sustained and the watercourse ecosystem is maintained for the uses of future generations. Water quantity and water quality are inextricably linked, and therefore there needs to be rapid movement towards sustainable water development in developed and developing countries, which is, I think, a theme that's gone throughout this conference. Sustainable water development includes 5 specific elements: the right to use water, the protection of water resources and prevention of water degradation, the maintenance of water flow, an ecosystem-related approach, and the procedural elements to achieve sustainable development. To that end, the United Nations has developed a number of sustainable development goals, which water is goal number 6, and that's to provide access to water and sanitation. And includes providing clean, accessible water for all is an essential need of the world, and there's sufficient fresh water on Earth to achieve this. However, due to bad economics or poor infrastructure, millions of people, most of them children, die from diseases associated with inadequate water supply, sanitation, and hygiene. And the United States has just recently passed a several $billion bill to address infrastructure, and so hopefully other countries are moving ahead in this direction as well. Other aspects are water scarcity, poor water quality, and inadequate sanitation, which negatively impact food security, livelihood choices, and educational opportunities for poor families. Drought afflicts some of the world's poorest countries, worsening hunger and malnutrition. And by 2050, 1 in 4 people is likely to live in a country affected by chronic or recurring shortages of fresh water. I'm going to look at several things, research trends and selected prominent journals. And to begin with, we'll look at sustainable water resources management, which is aptly named to what we're talking about. And the aims and scope of this journal, which is published by Springer and which I edit, are explores wide-ranging developments and challenges in pursuit of practical, sustainable water resource management, addresses a broad range of topics in water resources management, covers geopolitical and socioeconomic effects and constraints, and includes such topics as natural and man-induced contamination of water resources, surface and groundwater interaction, managed aquifer recharge and storage, which we all know is a very critical need today and is being implemented around the world. SWAM also addresses water resources management, sustainability of water resources, ground and surface water quality and quantity, water use and reuse, surface and groundwater interaction, and aquifer recharge, storage, and more. Another journal that I edit and is published by Springer and also addresses concerns as far as sustainable water management is concerned, as well as other aspects of what we've been talking about, is carbonates and evaporites. And its aims and scope examines and provides a forum for all aspects of carbonate and evaporite geology. It includes the origin and stratigraphy of carbonate and evaporite rocks and issues unique to these rock types, karst weathering phenomenon, engineering and environmental issues, mining and minerals extraction, and caves and permeability. And 25% of the earth is composed of limestone or karst terrain. So to that end, much of the groundwater, the potable water that we use, comes from these karst aquifers. Another journal that, the Carbonates and Evaporites has been published for 35 years, and Environmental Earth Sciences has just celebrated its 45th anniversary of publication. And it's a very applied journal and one that's helpful as far as addressing some of these concerns that we've been looking at. And it's concerned with interaction between humans, natural resources, ecosystems, special climates, or unique geographic zones in the earth. The major disciplines include hydrogeology, hydrochemistry, geochemistry, geophysics, engineering geology, remediation science, natural resources management, environmental climatology and biota, environmental geography, soil science, and geomicrobiology. It addresses a number of areas that are of concern, including water and soil contamination caused by waste management and disposal practices, environmental problems associated with transportation by land, air, or water, geological processes that may impact biosystems or humans, man-made or naturally occurring geological or hydrological hazards, environmental problems associated with the recovery of materials from the earth, problems caused by extraction of minerals, coal and oil, ores, oil and gas, water and alternative energy sources, environmental impacts of exploration and recultivation, environmental impacts of hazardous materials, management of environmental data and information in data banks and information systems, and dissemination of knowledge on techniques, methods, and approaches and experiences. All of these things are areas that need to have additional work to be done, and this is a way to show what areas are of concern and need to be addressed. We've used Wordles, which to identify the most used words in paper titles and papers, titles, and abstracts. And even though it's not an acknowledged or as a rigorous scientific approach, it provides an interesting insight into the most frequently covered topics. The size of the words in the picture corresponds to their coverage in the paper titles and abstract. And these include highly cited papers, papers affecting the impact factor in 2020, and topics in 2020. Pardon me. As per its definition, a highly cited paper received enough citations as of 4 to 5 months ago to place it in the top 1% of its academic field based on a highly cited threshold for the field and publication year. Geosciences rank in 12th place in research fields of highly cited papers, according to Insight's Essential Science Indicators of Clarivate and Analytics. Eces currently has 16 highly cited papers belonging to the top 1% in its research fields, and water-related topics belong to the most frequently cited category. Water quality, risk, rock, and gas are the leading topics in the most cited EES papers for the upcoming impact factor, and water, groundwater, and soil are the most utilized words in EES 2020 papers. Here's 15 of the most cited articles for the years 2015 and 16. And you can see the different areas that they have focused on: the hydraulic fracturing. Let's see, sorry. All right. But anyway, you can take a look at those, and Professor Goetchekas has these slides if you'd like to look at these in more detail. Another way to look at research trends is to look at the activities of international societies, one of which our company, P. Lamro Associates, has been actively involved, is the International Association of Hydrogeologists, which is composed of scientists, engineers, water managers, and other professionals. And it is involved in groundwater research, management, and protection, and has 4,000 members worldwide in 40 countries. One of the ways that our company has networked around the world and obtained projects is through the IH, and I encourage any of the younger people in the audience, if you're not a member, to look into it. There are 8 specialized research commissions that IH has, and they include commissions on groundwater and climate change, which would certainly be applicable to what we've just been talking about, groundwater and energy, groundwater outreach, karst hydrogeology, of which I'm a member of the commission, and if anybody's interested in joining that one, please let me know. Manage and aquifer recharge is one of the most discussed topics in the world today, and this is a very active commission. It's a commission on mineral and thermal waters, of which I'm the chairman, and the geothermal energy is becoming more and more a possibility, and as the years progress. Commission on regional groundwater flow and transboundary aquifers. As we know, many hydrogeology and geology doesn't stop at a country boundary, and one example is when our company was working on the Fiji Spring, which was having problems with low flow in the summertime. We had to map the recharge area for the spring, and to do that, we had to go into Lebanon, and it just shows you that you have to take all these factors into consideration. The IH is a partner with the United Nations in helping to address the concerns that the world is having in regards to water resources and energy. And global groundwater resources are under increasing pressure due to human activities and climate change. The UNESCO IGRAC Groundwater Overview showcases the essential issues of groundwater, informs about groundwater-related activities, and enhances knowledge exchange and collaboration. And paramount, raises awareness about our most important resource, groundwater. Here's the picture of the publication itself. If you're interested in obtaining a copy of it, it's free and you can get it from UNESCO. It covers a number of things of which we've been talking about. Climate variability is the world's largest distributed store of fresh water. Groundwater plays a central part in sustaining ecosystems and enabling human adaptation to climate variability and change. Aquifers have a buffering capacity and they're naturally more resistant to external impact than surface waters. And since variability of surface water availability is increasing due to climate change, there's a strategic importance of aquifers for water and food security is clearly growing. A number of natural disasters with floods and earthquakes and landslides. And in this instance, aquifers can substitute effective drinking water supplies in time of these catastrophic events. Relief organizations need to know about availability of groundwater for water supply when settling displaced communities after natural disasters and/or conflicts, and groundwater is often a possible solution for the people without access to safe drinking water, and there's still more than 600 million people in that situation. I'm having some sinus problems, so please excuse me. Groundwater is a common pool resource and is often utilized at an individual level, regardless of overall impact on the aquifer, because neither use nor impact are necessarily immediately visible. This becomes even more complex when aquifers cross state or national borders, as we talked about just a minute ago. Aquifers need to be governed through a process of shared responsibility and participation, information availability, and transparency and rule of law. And of course, this is difficult to do in this day and time, much less at any time. The Sustainable Water Resource Management Journal, though, that we talked about, one of the things it was established to do was to address not only the technical aspects, but the socioeconomic aspects, which is unique for a journal these days. So it is a good source of reference for you. There are various kinds of ecosystems that depend on groundwater. Aquatic, which includes wetlands, rivers, and lakes receiving groundwater. Terrestrial, which is phreatophyte vegetation, either shallow-rooted in alluvial settings or deep-rooted in arid zones. And there's becoming more research being done in this area and how much water different types of plants use and so forth. So subterranean, including limestone formations with karstic caverns. As we said, 25% of the Earth's surface is made up of limestone. And accordingly, groundwater is an essential part of any ecosystem-based adaptation measure, green infrastructure, or a nature-based solution. Settlements are becoming more and more a problem, and groundwater is the main source of water supply in many cities around the world, and increasingly under pressure due to continuous urbanization, climate change, and inadequate water management. Ground depletion and land subsidence are serious problems. The pumping rates in the megacities may be reduced and compensated by urban rainwater harvesting, rural-urban water transfers, aquifer storage with wastewater, and similar measures. Environmental Earth Sciences has just recently published a special issue on large water in large basins that deals with subsidence and the problems related to it, in case that's of interest to you. In regards to sanitation, health, and pollution, water-related disease remains one of the major health concerns in the world. The improvement of groundwater quality control in conjunction with improvement in sanitation and personal hygiene is the main strategy to reduce water-related disease. Groundwater can be polluted from agriculture, sanitation, industry and mining, landfills and waste disposal, traffic and transport, and also from chemical processes within geological environments. Regular groundwater monitoring, vulnerability assessment, protection from point source, and diffuse pollution and pollutant removal are some necessary actions in preserving and improving groundwater quality and health. In regards to food and energy, about 2/3 of all abstracted groundwater is used in agriculture. 2/3. Global food production increasingly relies on groundwater over abstraction. Groundwater depletion eventually leads to decline of food production, which, as the world's population continues to grow, is a very serious problem. About 1/4 of the energy used globally is spent on food production and supply, including groundwater pumping. And deep aquifers as a potential source and a sink for heat can play a much more prominent role in the provision of renewable geothermal energy. I know a number of countries are looking at deep groundwater aquifers, not only for geothermal energy, but also for potable water. And this is something that we'll see more of in the future. In regards to economics, groundwater resources are extensively used in production processes by very large international companies all over the world. Accordingly, international investors are being encouraged to share broader societal and environmental costs of groundwater, and understanding the value of groundwater would be an additional incentive for investors and asset managers to participate, leading eventually to investment risk reduction. Just as a summary of some of our trends and issues that we've been looking at, there are activities in regards to using remote sensing increasingly for aquifer management, satellite data interpretation for drought and long-term weather forecasting, bringing more real-time reporting data online via the web. And I know Professor Gokchekas and his staff have been doing a lot in regards to dealing with big data and looking at AI and decision making. Another aspect is cross-disciplinary training, which is what this conference call is doing, is trying to train people around the world, as well as regional, national, and international emphasis on improving water use agreements and best practices, and looking at more collaborative studies among consortium universities or corporations, which is something that this conference hopefully will lead to, and looking at water as an economic commodity or as a natural right. That summarizes pretty much what we've been discussing, and there are also some other professional book series published by Springer that I'm editor of that may help illuminate some of these topics as well. There are environmental earth sciences, professional practices in earth sciences, caves and karst systems of the world, advances in karst science, pioneers in science, geoguides, and briefs and theses. And the briefs and theses may be of interest to the PhD students in the audience. In this instance, if your thesis is selected as the best thesis for your department for the year, then you can submit it to Springer with your advisor's nomination. And if it's selected by Springer for that, then you get paid 500 euros, and it's distributed throughout Springer's international marketing and distribution network. So it's quite a good opportunity. And but that's pretty much what we've got, and I hope it's been helpful, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Jim Lamoureux, for your contributions.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for including me.
Okay, we're always delighted to have you here with us.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. I look forward to seeing you in person in next year when Professor Gokchestis organizes his next conference.
I hope so, Professor James Namarox. Hopefully next year our conference will be face-to-face and we will be able to meet in person as well. We are looking forward to it.
I will too. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, as our next speaker, now I would like to invite Professor Dr. Özgür Özerdem to make his presentation. Welcome, professors. Can you?
Thank you. I will try to present my presentation about the electrical and energy problems of Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus and renewable energy as solution. Cyprus is the third biggest island of Mediterranean region after Sicily and Sardinia. Energy production is done by TRNC Electricity Authority, KıpTek, and KıpTek power stations located at Teknecik, and AXA, a private company, power stations located at Kalecik. Transmission and distribution in Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus are under responsibility of KıpTek. The conventional power stations of TRNC are KıpTek power stations of 306 megawatts and AXA private company 148 megawatts. At Teknecik, KıpTek has two steam turbines, each of 60 megawatts, and 8 diesel generators, each 17 megawatts. And lately, there are 2 gas turbines, 25 megawatts each. These are mobile stations. In Kalecik, AXA has 17.5 megawatts diesel generators, and a heat steam combined cycle of 8 megawatts. So total capacity, generation capacity in TRNC is 454 megawatts. Actually, the whole generation depends on oil petroleum products. Except from that, KıpTek also has 1.2 megawatts of power PV solar power station at Serhatköy. In 2004, a total of 838,869 megawatt hours of energy has been generated, and in 2021, this generation reached 1,642,734 megawatt hours, with an average annual increase calculated to be 4.28%. Though the forecast of KıpTek was 5% increase on average, I believe the pandemic period affected this generation. As can be seen on the table below, especially in 2020, with respect to the year before, 9.98% is generated less. The peak electricity demand in 2004 was measured to be 157 megawatts, where in 2020 up to now, it was recorded to be 374 megawatts. The annual average increase in the peak is 5.09%. 374 megawatts peak value is critical when compared with the total power generation capacity that we have as 454 megawatts. When we look at the total installed PV stations that we have in the system, there is a total of 97.878 megawatts installed PV power. 74.942 kilowatts. 74,942 kilowatts low voltage and 22,935 kilowatts medium voltage is installed solar on the grid with PV. This number is equal to 21.6% of power generated, total power generated by the fuel oil power plants. There is a total of 37.6 megawatts PV projects that has the permit to install the station from the government, but not installed yet. If they will be installed, total PV generation will approximately be around 30% of the power generated by the fuel oil power plants. This ratio has some technical risks for an isolated grid that we have. There is a 3.4 megawatts of grid installed projects that are off-grid in the system. As I said before, as we have an isolated electricity grid as TRNC, we cannot actually increase the on-grid PV projects, and we have a high capacity sunny country, and this is really sad. If we look at the other grid problems, we have the power quality problems. One of the most important problems that we have as TRNC, no reactive power tariff. Still, no reactive power tariff. Therefore, the industrial or commercial consumers do not have to install a reactive power compensator or harmonic filters. This situation deeply affects the quality of the power. Another problem, we have large deviations of the grid nominal frequency, and also the voltage and the harmonics, voltage and current harmonics also deviate. These graphs are the harmonics, voltage and current harmonics, and the voltage and frequency graphs of an industrial place, industrial factory. And as it can be seen, we have large deviations. For the grid system, reactive power and the harmonics data should be collected and analyzed by the experts. This is for the grid system. Then reactive power and the harmonic filtering solutions for the system should be done. This is not done. And whenever we don't have any data, it cannot be analyzed, and the problems cannot be solved. If you don't have any data, you cannot reach to a solution. This is a big problem. TRNC should have a reactive power tariff. This tariff should be followed strictly, especially in the industrial areas, and the industrial companies, workplaces should be forced to obey the tariff. Energy efficiency, that's also another problem. Measures should be followed and the data should be collected and evaluated regularly. Again, we have the lack of data. There should be legislation and all the countries should be forced to obey the energy efficiency rules. There should also be energy efficiency tariff and followed strictly. The transmission and distribution systems should be developed by investments for modern electrical equipment by collecting the data regularly for already installed system and taking into account the possible near and long-time future developments on the load side. This map actually shows the high voltage lines installed in TRNC, and these dotted lines represent the high voltage lines that are not operating at 132 kilovolts, and they are operated in 66 kilovolts, and they should be completed. The total high voltage lines in TRNC is 667.8 kilometers long. Generation. As mentioned before, all the generation in TRNC is based on fuel oil. This can be considered as a big problem. Power plant installation should be considered besides subsea interconnection with Turkey. If an interconnection is done between Turkey and TRNC, there will be no technical limitations for the amount of on-grid PV stations that can be installed due to the isolated small-scale grid of TRNC. Besides, the voltage and frequency stability will be established by such an interconnection. The interconnection should be bidirectional. This will actually encourage the PV solar power generation in the daytime for a sunny country like TRNC. PV generation will also have advantages on environmental and health issues, improving local air quality and reducing the adverse health impacts due to less carbon dioxide gas emission or less fuel oil usage while generating electricity. These measures should also be considered for the feasibility calculations of interconnection. CSP power plants. As I mentioned before, actually we need the power plants installation besides the interconnection, subsea interconnection with Turkey. Negative impacts of carbon dioxide emission of fossil hydrocarbon resources increase the usage of renewable energy. Renewable energy is clean, sustainable, and environmental friendly energy. Improves local air quality and reduces adverse health impacts. This is really important. The interconnection will increase the on-grid PV capacity during the daytime, but installation of new power plants with another renewable technology of concentrated solar power should also be seriously considered, as it is amongst the most cost-effective renewable electricity technologies. Besides, it is possible to generate electricity during hours without sun, as the system stores heat. Energy storage is also possible with such plants. This technology uses focused solar heat for creating steam and generates electricity by turbines. The main concentrated solar power technologies to generate electricity in the range of 10 kilowatts to several gigawatts are parabolic through linear Fresnel, solar tower, and dish engine technologies. Parabolic through technology is the most preferred technology, as around 75% of the installed concentrated solar power projects in the world are parabolic through plants. This figure actually shows the advantages of concentrated solar power, increasing level of deployment, local contents, sustainable energy storage, job creation, no carbon dioxide emission, efficient long storage, competitive price, higher development of PV and wind, auxiliary services to the grid, dispatchable energy, and it is the world's most abundant renewable energy sources. We mentioned about 4 techniques used by concentrated solar power: parabolic through, linear Fresnel, reflector, parabolic dish, and central receivers. These are the 4 techniques used for concentrated solar generating concentrated solar power, and the pictures below actually shows the parabolic through and central receiver projects, 2 of the projects that are installed in the world. When we look at the world, generally, the total capacity of the projects, CSP projects in the world, reached to 9,162 megawatts. And the blue plants, the blue circles represents the operational, red under construction, and the green at development. And this map actually shows the projects around the world, CSP projects at the moment around the world. And the green marks represent the parabolic through, the yellow power tower, and the red dish engine, and the other linear Fresnel projects present in the world. Recently, 950 megawatts concentrated solar power PV and PV hybrid plant by the Dubai Electricity and Water Authority in the United Arab Emirates was awarded a price of 0.073 cents per kilowatt hour. And this is the nominal, in nominal terms, and this is really important value. It shows that it is really feasible to generate the electricity using concentrated solar power, and it enables the actually at night time the generation without the sunny hours, the generation, and one of the plants in the world is reported to reach 9-hour generation without the sun, as it stores the heat, and this is really important. A typical concentrated solar power requires 1.2 to 2.4 kilometer squares area to be installed. And this figure shows the energy storage, which is really important in the world, especially the energy that is generated by renewable energy. And this orange section is the molten salt thermal energy storage, that you store the heat in molten salt and generate electricity during the hours without the sun. And for 10 megawatts to 100 more than 100 megawatts, 120 megawatts, around 120 megawatts generation, this technology is used in the world generally for concentrated solar power. Finally, I can conclude that it is necessary to collect real-time data throughout the electricity grid of TRNC, and after thorough analysis by experts, necessary investments on both transmission and distribution should be done. This is really important. Reactive power tariff is really important for increasing the power quality of the system. Energy efficiency measures should be compulsory in all related areas. Interconnection, bidirectional, with mainland Turkey is vital, in my opinion, for the isolated grid of TRNC, for both encouraging PV generation, eliminating the technical limitations, and for reliable voltage and frequency stability. Concentrated solar power generation power plants should be planned for clean, sustainable energy besides energy diversity, which is really important. Sun is the only source for such a generation, and by energy storage, it is possible to generate energy for the period without sun. As I mentioned before, in some projects, up to 9 hours have been reached. Another problem of TRNC is that wind energy for generating electricity is not considered, and there is lack of thorough analysis and studies towards such renewable energy generation should be done. It should be considered and encouraged, in my opinion. Thank you for listening. And I congratulate the conference organizers for such fruitful conference.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Özgür Özerdem, for your presentation and for sharing valuable information.
Thank you. Thank you. It was my pleasure.
Okay. As our final speaker of this session and the final speaker of the conference for the keynote presentations, now I would like to invite Professor Dr. Serkan Abbasoğlu to deliver his presentation.
Professor Dr. Serkan Abbasoğlu from Cyprus International University, working as advisor to the Executive Board, Board of Trustees, and also Dean of Engineering Faculty. I am the director of the studies which are carried out under the philosophy of sustainability. So we are carrying out many studies under sustainability, and briefly today I am going to present you some of these studies. Initially, I'm going to talk about Cyprus International University. Then I will talk about energy management, efficiency and renewable energy studies. After the brief information regarding these topics, I will talk on water management, efficiency and recycling implementations. And finally, I will conclude my remarks with engagements with CIE community. Cyprus International University is a young university. It's founded in 1997 with just few staff and nearly 100 students. And up to date, it's continuing to growing, and now we reaches over 1,000 staff and 20,000 students. We have a campus area nearly 630,000 meters square, which is nearly 40% of this campus area is covered with vegetation and plants. So we can easily mention that we have a green campus in the capital city of Northern Cyprus, Nicosia. We joined to Green Matrix in 2018, and our studies were begun to evaluate by the commissions of the Green Matrix since then. So in the first year of ours, we were ranked at the 375th position, and last year we reached to 111th. So we have an increasing motivation with this increasing success in Green Matrix in sustainability. What we did as sustainability roadmap in CIU, CIU has approximately 12, even 13 years history about sustainability. We start to work on sustainability with the establishment of Center of Excellency topics, which are, or let's say decision of these topics in energy and environment in 2009. And after the establishment of, after giving this decision, we established environmental engineering and energy systems engineering departments in Cyprus International University. In 2011, we established a Sustainable Energy Research Center, which is one of the most active centers in the university. And we started work on mainly renewable energy systems, which at that time we believed that they will be the sustainable solution for the energy problem in the world. With these studies, we carried out a big project in the campus. We installed nearly 1.3 megawatt photovoltaic panels and commissioned this system in 2015. In 2016, of course, parallel to this work, we carried out too many studies, and we start to get the result of another study, which is our science and technology building. We constructed a building as a smart building, energy efficient building, which has too many features about energy efficiency and renewable energy implementations. So I will briefly talk about this in our presentation in the further slides. Then in 2017, we start working on sustainability with our students. Till that time, we were working as administration on sustainability and energy management or energy projects, let's say. But after this time, we started cooperate, or let's say incorporate our students in these projects also. So our students start to work on sustainability projects, produce their own projects, offer their projects, and we change our role as the administration. We start to be the coordinator, or let's say the organization at the organization point of these projects. So we established the Students for Sustainable Campus activity, let's say, or team. In 2018, with the workshop that individually I participated in Cork, Ireland, of Green Matrix organization, we decided to establish an office which will handle all the processes regarding sustainability in the campus. So directing, announcing, archiving, all the events that will be carried out. And till then we start to work more, let's say, organized about sustainability. In 2019, we had another decision, and with the aim of being net zero campus about the carbon emissions, we decided to install a biogas plant. So we start to work on this project, which at the time being pre-engineering studies were nearly completed, and permissions were taken. So we are at the verge of installation. Of course, while doing these issues, we carried out too many projects on different fields like recycling, right, waste management, and so on also. But we feel that we are not aware of all the consumption regarding energy and also water. So in 2020 we invest on energy management, and also water flow meters. So we install too many flow meters for water and also meters for electricity consumption, all the points that we have question mark, and all the buildings, of course. So in 2021 we go one step up about energy efficiency. Before we did some energy efficiency studies in our buildings, but in 2021 we focused nearly on the buildings during this pandemic duration and try to install some or take some energy measures in our buildings in order to prevent undesired losses or undesired consumptions in these buildings. So first of all, we did some audits in these buildings and then continue with the implementation of some projects. And finally, in 2022, we work on supplying free water to our students, and we install too many water fountains in the campus to provide free water to our students. So briefly, this is our sustainability roadmap in CIU, and till now we have an increasing philosophy or increasing motivation in sustainability. Of course, with the SDGs of United Nations, all of the world is concentrated on sustainability. But I think we have a strong backbone in this study. So what we did, as I said, sustainability, what are the milestones in our studies? Sustainability Energy Research Center is one of these milestones. As I said, it's formally founded in 2011, but we carried out our studies from 2009, and it has a nearly 13 years background. So with the Center of Excellence aim in CI, so we did too many studies under this research center. So we carried out nearly 5 megawatt energy power plant, solar power plant in the campus, plus in the other locations of the country. And also we did too many certification programs, education, seminars. Also we are doing till that time, till today, let's say from 2009 till today, we are doing consultancy to our administration in Cyprus, generally to the government. So we carry out too many projects under the Energy Research Center. Many of them are implementations, but of course we did too many research projects also, and also we published too many publications under this umbrella. In addition to the Sustainable Research Center, we established Sustainable Campus Office, as I said before, mainly after starting to work with the motivation of UI Green Metrics. We decided to establish this campus office. So, and we are very happy with this because we had opportunity to coordinate, plan, and record all these studies from one point. So it gives us an opportunity to follow all these studies according to a schedule. Okay, So when we come to energy management, when we come to the energy management and the renewable energy studies in the campus, you can see on this schematic campus map the locations of our photovoltaic plants. So what is the importance of this study? It's the first project, private project carried out or commissioned in the CYPRUS, and it's one of the it's the biggest campus renewable energy plant, which is located in the campus. And the other importance of this study, we have 4 different types of mounting systems. So these are level roof, inclined roof, terrain, so a land implementation or installation, and also carports. So it's a nice example for our students, mainly engineering students, but all of the students. In addition, it's a nice example for all the public, so they can see too many samples of photovoltaic installations in a location. Of course, we had opportunity to do some research on these studies also, or installations, because these are big systems, let's say mid-scale systems. So we have opportunity to find out the influence of different type of installations in PV studies. Here you can see the simple information basic information of these installations. As you can see, total area of these installations is nearly 13,000 meters square, which is amount to 1.3 megawatt total capacity. And on the right side in the graphic, you can see easily the energy generation in these systems. Of course, because of meteorological conditions and also some maintenance issues, at each year we cannot have same performance. But generally, when we look generally, we have opportunity to cover nearly 40% of our electricity need from our solar system. In addition to this system, we did, as I said in the flow of the roadmap, we implement too many energy efficiency measures. So what we did, this is one of the sample. This is our preparation prep school, English prep school front view, and is taken by a thermal camera. What we did in our buildings, we did energy audits, and we try to find out the undesired energy losses or gains in our buildings. So as we are living in a hot country, we are generally concentrated on, of course, ventilation plus cooling. But of course, we have a short winter time, and heating is another issue. And mainly in this season, we have our students in our campus. So we try to check all the year consumptions in our buildings. And after we did our general audits in the buildings, we carried out some energy conservation measures, and we did technical plus economical analysis and try to decide which of these measures could be applied in our buildings. And for this building, there's a sample, as you can see. We did roof insulation, pipe insulation, the replacement of the lighting with LED infrastructure or LED lamps, let's say, and installation of PV, as these are technically and financially feasible investments. So we apply these energy efficiency implementations or measures nearly all of our buildings in the campus in last 5 years, let's say. But in last 2 years, these implementations or rate of these implementations increases. This is the building that I said at the beginning, the energy efficient and also environmental friendly building, we can say. We have too many different implementations in this building. It's a sample building again. It's a 3-story building, generally done or constructed for engineering faculty. Around 15,000 meters square area, floor area it has, and the basement is the laboratories of the engineering, and the other 2 floors are serving for offices and lecture halls. So what we did in this building we have All the south facade is covered with solar panels. This is second generation thin film solar panels. So it's I think the biggest facade in the region, nearly 900 meters square. Also, the other interesting implementation, over this building, it's not clearly seen on the photos, but over this building we have solar chimneys. These solar chimneys are the stacks of, are the end point of the stacks which are connected to the areas, or let's say the offices and the classes. So we have opportunity to have natural ventilation in this building with the help of these solar chimneys. In addition to these implementations, what we have shading infrastructure, say shading objects, let's say on the east and west side of the building to prevent direct sunlight inlet. And of course, we applied heat insulation to the building. We use LED lighting, which is most efficient and feasible system at the time being for lighting or illumination. And we apply highly efficient air conditioners with high COP values to decrease the energy consumption. In addition to this, we have a building management system in this building, so we can control all the volumes from a center about HVAC conditions. So we try to create a comfort zone in all the let's say volumes, like for classes, for offices, and for laboratories. They all have different comfort values, but we try to provide them and control them from a central system with our automation. Okay, this is the future part, future study of the energy issue. So we are trying to be the first net zero carbon campus in the region, and it's our goal. We took the permissions of this project, and as soon as we implement the project, we are not going to use any fossil fuel based source for our needs in the campus. So we will have opportunity to provide all of our energy from renewables. So this will be one of the best maybe cases in the region to be sampled for all the public and all the people around. The other importance in this plant, we will have opportunity to get rid of wastes. So it's not only energy production, but we will get rid of waste. So it will not serve only carbon emission mitigation, but we will also prevent the disposal of these wastes like whey, which is one of the biggest problem in the region. Generally, it's poor to the nature, so it's very dangerous liquid, probably all you know. So we will have opportunity to get rid of these wastes and increase the quality of our environment. When we look from the water management side, one of the most important implementations, of course, you know, water is very valuable, mainly the drinking water or high quality water becoming scarce day by day. So we must prevent the leak and losses. So initially in 2018, we started to implement the new flow meters to our buildings. And in 2020, we were able to complete this project. Now we are able to control all the water consumption in the campus. And monthly we are taking these values, and campus management is controlling it and try to find out if there's any problem. Of course, then it's a big campus, but it's a need that we should do, because in an island like Cyprus, it's more bigger problem than the other lands, because you know, we have limited amount of water. Unfortunately, day by day we are having less rain, so reaching water is becoming a problem. So monitoring is one of the important issues. Of course, while doing the monitoring, we took some other measures also. We try to increase the water efficiency. So we are trying to get the same performance. We are trying to get the same amount of service as water with the less consumption. We are trying to do this. And as you can see from this graph, what we did, we apply dual flush toilets or reservoirs, which consume less water and decreases the consumption. We use sensors. With the influence of pandemic also, we increase the implementation of these or installation of these sensors. We apply low flow nozzle faucets, which is valuable also, and it was not applied before, so we did it in last 2 years. And we apply faucets with sensors, so as I said, it's similar to the flow nozzle faucets. This is new case also for us, and now we have very high, let's say, water efficient appliances, highly water efficient appliances, nearly all the campus. And also we did some improvement in the irrigation system because as I said at the beginning, we have nearly 40% irrigation area. So we need water there, and we are trying to use recycled water there. In the next slide, I will briefly tell this. But what we did, we tried to minimize the consumption by applying efficient sprinkler systems, and also we start drip irrigation through the campus. And now we are trying to use this drip irrigation in order to prevent the high loss of water, because in the previous system, because of hot climate, there is too much evaporation and loss of water. And this is the source of our irrigation system. We are using our recycled water. So we have a treatment plant, water treatment plant with filtration system at the end of this plant, which is added in last year. So because, you know, even if you treat the water with this in these reactors, in the sewage treatment plants, without filtration, you cannot use them in drip irrigation systems because there could be some small particles inside of it. So therefore, we need to have this filtration system in your treatment plant. In last year, we were able to install it also. Now we can use our sprinkler systems plus drip irrigation system efficiently with low consumption of water. And this is the last project, as I mentioned you at the beginning of my presentation. The aim of this project somehow to provide free drinking water to our students, and to all of our faculty buildings. We had opportunity to install the water fountains, and of course it's a nice project. So now our students are able to obtain their drinking water needs from these water fountains. Of course, we had opportunity during the pandemic season, as our students were away the campus to do these constructions. So we get benefit from this duration also, and now they are ready to the use of our students. Okay, finally, I would like to thank all of the audience, all of the listeners. I try to brief the studies that were carried out in Cyprus International University on energy management and also water management. I would like to once more thank to the UI Green Metrics administration also for giving this opportunity to us. Thank you very much.